This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by Clarke Tucker. He is the 2nd District Democratic Congressional nominee. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much, Roby.
You doing all right?
I'm doing great. It's always a great day when I'm here in the studio.
I appreciate that very much. So your sister stealing some of your thunder here.
Yeah.
You know, this is supposed to be Clarke Tucker's time in the media, and your sister is in high profile for her work on Filmland, I think, which is the big film festival going on right here. Yeah. Your parents have to be disappointed with the underachievements of their kids.
Yeah. No, it was very exciting yesterday. Actually, my mom and I didn't know that was coming out. My dad did. Obviously, he was quoted in the article, and my sister did as well, but it was a great surprise, and you know, I'm just proud of my sister. She's got a very exciting thing coming up in a couple weeks with Filmland, and they're going to have some great movies. So
maybe there'll be a documentary made about the Clarke Tucker campaign one of these days. You get a little inside straight there for that.
Yeah.
Let's talk politics. Your opponent, Congressman Fritch Hill, tells me in a recent interview that the tax cuts are working. GDP growth was strong in the last quarter. Claims that wages are growing, productivity is growing, business confidence is at an all-time high. Obviously, there's some good news for corporate health in those tax cuts. Have those tax cuts, have they been good for the economy?
You know, I think if you cite some of those factors, you tell someone who's making $9 an hour that the Dow is up, they may view that a little differently. And I would definitely quibble with the argument that wages are up. I think wages are stagnant, and they have been for a long time. And the unemployment rate is obviously an important factor, but we need more than for people just to be paid $7.25 an hour. We need people who are working to be able to afford life's basic needs in the United States in 2018. That's not really the case, so we do have a lot of work to do from an economic perspective.
There's a possibility there'll be a minimum wage proposal on the ballot this fall. Do you support that?
From what I understand of what it will be, yes, I do support that minimum wage increase.
If it qualifies.
Yes.
It's still got a ways to go to make it to the ballot, though, so we'll see.
Yes.
Social Security and Medicare, two of the drivers of what is affecting the federal budget, they're on a collision course to turn this country's finances. They are turning this country's finances upside down. You've said that you'll fight ongoing attacks on Social Security and Medicare. Does that mean you do not advocate for any changes in those systems, such as an age limit or other types of reforms? What's your position on that?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to mention that the two questions you've asked already between the tax cut and the Social Security Medicare, there is a direct relationship there. The tax cut has exploded the deficit. It's up by 20% this fiscal year. And we know that because there's a proposal on the table right now in Congress from Congressman Womack from here in Arkansas, actually, to balance the budget on the backs of Medicare and Social Security. Back to your specific question, people pay into Medicare and Social Security over the course of their lives. And so I have a little bit of a problem with the word entitlement because it implies that it hasn't been earned, and those benefits have been earned by paying in over decades. And if you're going to have any reform, in my opinion, it really needs to be on the front end. You can't tell someone you're going to be eligible at 65 and have them pay in for 30 or 40 years and then change it at the end of the game. You can't move the goalposts.
So you advocate grandfathering at least some age groups in to hold them, I guess, harmless in terms of where they are, but maybe look at some of the age reforms or other benefits reforms for younger age groups?
Yeah, so long as you're being transparent and honest and upfront with everyone. And you know, I don't know, I'm not advocating for any particular policy at this point in time, but I do believe firmly that everyone who's paid in over the course of their lives, they've earned those benefits, and those should be protected.
Tell me what's different between you and your opponent on health care. You have been a supporter of the Affordable Care Act. There's obviously some things that you guys have done in the state legislature here. Congress has taken some action on some things. There was obviously the effort to repeal no replacement, but there have been some smaller things done. HSAs have been expanded or attempting to be expanded. There are now some insurance plans, according to the administration, that would provide fewer benefits but be less expensive for younger people who are healthier. You've also got the medical device tax repeal. We could take some of these individually, but give me some overarching kind of feel of what you would do if you were in Congress to alter the way health care is delivered in this country.
So you started out by asking for some differences. I think one of the major differences is protections for people with pre-existing conditions. Last year, the AHCA, which Congressman Hill voted for, removed those protections for people with pre-existing conditions. It didn't guarantee the same rates as people without pre-existing conditions, and so that essentially removes coverage as a practical matter.
I trust you will make that a big part of your messaging this fall?
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of the conversation
Okay.
for sure. Yes, sir. And I think another, from a big picture perspective, it's just approach. You know, in the Arkansas legislature, we had a bipartisan, innovative program that we worked together on to make sure people had access to care. And we just have not seen that approach in Washington, and I would want to take some of that same approach. As to the specifics of your question, we really have two major healthcare issues in the country from a big picture perspective, those being access and affordability. And the ironic part of the Affordable Care Act is it really had more to do with access than it did with affordability. But we didn't close that gap entirely. In Arkansas, we led the nation in reducing the percentage of uninsured adults from 21 to 9. But we're still at 9. We need to move that number to 0. Everyone needs to have access to care, but it also needs to be affordable, which is the second part of that equation. There actually were some pretty good reforms in Arkansas in the last 10 years where care is outcomes-based rather than quantity or fee-for-service-based, and I think we can do some things like that. An easy example is instead of going to the ER 4 times a year with an asthma attack, we can be smarter and just get that person an inhaler or a nebulizer, and that it costs less, it's better for them, it's better for everyone. And I think we can create systems that incentivize those sorts of outcomes.
Let's hit a couple of the pressure points though here. So individual mandate repeal, would you be supportive of that?
No, because at the end of the day, less people are going to have access to care as a result of that.
So the mandate should stay?
Yeah, the marketplaces just won't work if there aren't healthy participants in the markets.
All right, recently Congress passed a repeal of the medical device tax. Would you be supportive of that?
I need to study that one a little bit more before I'm ready to commit one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about expanding HSAs?
I think, you know, HSAs are a good thing, and you know, it depends on exactly how they're used, but if people can put money into an account on a pre-tax basis and use that to pay for health care, I think in general that's a positive.
All right, let's drill down into some numbers in your district here. Larry Sabato's crystal balls moved this race from likely R to lean R. The next incremental move in a positive direction for you would be toss-up.
Right.
That kind of comes down to money raised and perhaps polling.
Right.
Might make some of that stuff change.
Yeah.
Trump won this district by 11 points, I think, in 2016. French Hill won by 8 or 9, I think, in 2014.
Right.
You got to run up the score in Pulaski County. You got to cut into some Republican strongholds in places like Saline County and Faulkner County.
Right.
What's going to make that happen?
I think it's a variety of things. One thing is we're meeting people where they are. We just opened an office in Conway last week. I'm really excited about that. But I go to a lot of events in these communities, and these are not partisan events. These are just members of the community out. And I have conversations with these folks, and they tell me that they want to change in Washington, and they like the conversation that they have with me, and they're ready to support someone new like me, and they tell me they're going to vote for me in November. And again, it is obviously anecdotal, but the conversations I'm having they're just with members of the community on the street. It's not a predisposed audience, and I feel really good about it. You know, the crystal ball rating that you mentioned, there have been some other ratings changes from the Cook report and whatnot, and it's interesting. I don't think there's been a public poll of the district since April that I'm aware of, at least, and so I'm looking forward to you guys jumping back in, because it might cause another one of those
I will reveal
shifts.
a little news today that we are going to actually go in the field post Labor Day. And the week after, we will have some numbers on the 2nd Congressional District. We'll do Congressional District polling all 4 districts across the state.
Okay.
So
I'm looking forward to that.
Be tuned in for that.
Sounds good.
So, all right, KATV, Talk Business and Politics, had proposed a 2nd District Congressional debate. Congressman Hill declined. We are willing to still host a 1-hour live forum for your campaign to take questions from our panel of journalists, as well as from people that we will solicit through Facebook and online. Will you accept?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of important issues facing our country. I'm putting myself up for office because I want to represent the people of Central Arkansas and Washington, and I think it's important to have those conversations with the public.
All right, date to be determined. So
sounds good.
All right, we'll negotiate that. So he is Clarke Tucker. He is running for the 2nd Congressional District. He's the Democratic nominee. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Roby, for having me.
Appreciate you, Clarke. All right, that's all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.